Hey guys, and welcome to the new episode of Automated Seller Podcast. Today I have a special guest, Justin Cobb, American investor, international business owner, entrepreneurial, and motivational speaker. Hi, Justin. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Jacob. Excited to be here.
Thanks for being here. And yeah, first of all, Justin is a co-founder and CEO of Carbon6, which is quite an, I would say, new company in the Amazon space. I mean, how long ago did you start, Justin? I think it's around 2 years, one and a half.
It'd be just over 2 years. 27 months.
That's awesome. And I actually know that because I remember that was the time where we kind of really also focused on and the Amazon space. And I was really exploring different companies, different tools that were on the market. And I found actually about the Carbon6. I know that back then you actually put a lot of initial fund and started gathering those very interesting tools, right? Could you tell actually a little bit more about the idea behind Carbon6? And how does it work? So I know that you have this crazy ecosystem of very nice tools for Amazon sellers.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw a huge opportunity, Jacob, where there was this massive market, 600 billion flowing through Amazon, of which about 60% are third party, the other 40% first party, and a massively fragmented ecosystem of support through services and software for that ecosystem. What we saw was a large move upstream where the consolidation of the GMV going through Amazon is really becoming more and more focused on the sellers who know what they're doing, who've done it before, brands that were already large brick and mortar, D2C native brands that really accelerated after the iOS update are migrating over and having Amazon become a bigger and bigger part. And what we didn't see yet in the market was an ecosystem, a set of software tools to service that part of the market. And that's where we jumped in. So once we had the idea and we were excited and we thought we could get a push off the line through M&A by acquiring a lot of solutions. Of course, today we're building from scratch many solutions and creating a hub where everything flows through. We just saw a huge opportunity to get a push off the line. We were drafting off the success from a fundraising standpoint that the aggregators were having, and so that allowed us to go and get some of the top single point solutions that today form part of the ecosystem as it sits today.
Awesome. And how did you actually identify first of those tools that you acquired to the ecosystem?
Yeah, so we started out just by going through. I mean, I'll take a step back actually. I moved down to Puerto Rico 2020, hence the non-virtual but looks like a virtual background here in my backyard. And my original plan was to slow down, semi-retire, do a bunch of investing. And the only people I met in my neighborhood at the time that were younger than me were all Amazon sellers. There was 4 of them. They were all Amazon sellers. As I learned more about their business, it was incredible. They had gone, quite literally from zero to hero. One of them, Brendan Morris, was working in a grocery store. 3 years later, he sold a brand for 8 figures. And it was an incredible story. It was true entrepreneurship. It was amazing that the platform of Amazon had created this avenue where people could, have upward mobility in a way that not everyone could. And one thing that was striking as I would speak to Brendan and some of the other sellers here in the neighborhood, as I was diving deep into the world of marketplace selling, was just how many different logins they needed to have, how many different tabs are open on their computer, 30, 40, 50,
you mean
20,
to manage all of to use all of the tools, right?
Yeah, in order to manage their business, as a seller, and several of those would claim to be all-in-one solutions. But if they're all-in-one solutions, then why do you have 29 tabs open? The amount of time that was spent just on in inefficiency at clicking between and having to manage all the different permissions and who on my team should have access to what and payment, etc. It seemed like there was a real gap in the market for a comprehensive upmarket solution for the professional seller. We then went and identified what are all the main jobs that a seller needs to do, launch, advertising, inventory, alerts, etc., and then went out and did a full market analysis of the top players in all of those different areas And that's really where the acquisition strategy came from. So we went
Awesome.
into inventory management and acquired SoStock, which is the top inventory management platform for sellers. We looked at reimbursements. We identified a bunch of players, and we deduced that Seller Investigators was number one for a bunch of different reasons. That's for 3P, for 1P, profit recovery. We identified ChargeGuard, so on and so forth. And so that's really the genesis for the acquisition strategy early on.
Great. And then as a actual Carbon6, you want to have it all as one hub, right? So there's no need, as you mentioned, to
Correct.
jump in between the tabs, different logins, but rather use one platform to actually use all of those tools.
Yeah, that's correct. And so today we already see the beginning stages of this. So sellers who are a customer of Seller Investigators can use that same login for Managed by Stats, for SoStock, for PixelMe, and others. And we're adding all the tools into that. It's great. You can one click between apps. You have an app bucket. Think a navigation bar that's similar to at the top of your Gmail, where you can access Drive and Sheets, etc. Really as the model for how we're doing it from a user experience standpoint.
Awesome. I will jump back to actually some more questions related to Carbon6 and the hub. But first, I actually want to also go a little bit back in time. So you mentioned right now that you are in Puerto Rico. You had those plans to retire, but on the other hand, you met those crazy neighbors who are Amazon sellers. So let's talk about your history before that, right? If you could tell a little bit about your background, especially as an international business owner, because I actually checked some of your very old YouTube videos, even back in Poland in Wrocław, with one lady that translates you actually directly to Polish. So if you could tell a little bit more about this before you jump to the Amazon world.
Yeah, no problem, Jacob. So I grew up in a small town, I don't know, 12, 13,000 people, a couple hours outside of New York, and didn't get to travel a lot, but always wanted to see the world and was really interested in having different experiences. And, you only live one life, and wanted to maximize it as much as possible. So as I got older and I went to college, and graduated college, I really had that on my mind. I had planned on going to law school. I didn't really want to go. I was playing in a band at the time and traveling and seeing bands, and I was driving all over the country, just wanting to be free and see and do different stuff. It was just always the way I was wired. It was always where the magnet was pulling me, was to a new experience and a new challenge. I by mistake, we ran out of money, and I needed a job. I took a job selling coupons door to door in Boston. This is back when you would answer.
But that was your first job, actually, or?
I'd had like 60 or 65 jobs before that, but I'd never held a job for longer than 3 weeks. Yeah, so okay. I'd go in and wait tables for 2 days and get enough money to go, do whatever I was doing in high school or college. And so it was the first job I was ever committed to, I would say. And it's interesting because at that time in my life, I was wondering, I was almost questioning my own ambition. But as it turned out, I just needed something that had a big picture goal to it. I wasn't a very good employee. The business I started in doing direct sales was an opportunity model where you could eventually learn how to run your own office and run your own company. And so at 23, I opened my first business, 18 months after starting out in that door-to-door sales company. And then I was able to expand and take that business all over. I moved to England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Poland, back to America in 2015. Today, I have many thousands of people in that business, and 700-800 people who are running their own company through that model. And for me, it was an incredible way to see the world. You mentioned Poland, where I know you are based, and in 2013, for the first time, energy was deregulated in Poland. What that meant was you could switch energy providers, which is great because it creates competition and price competition. And myself and 4 individuals that were working with me on my team in the UK, we moved to Poland. None of us spoke Polish. It's pretty interesting.
And it's a very hard language also, so I assume you didn't learn it, even though you lived here, right?
Well, okay, I'm gonna put one of my old colleagues, Arthur, on blast. So Arthur he was Polish.
Oh, nice.
He lived there till he was 19. And he was 28 or 30 when we met him. But he'd forgotten most of it. So it's not only such a complex language to learn from scratch. I think I think I've read that you become fluent in an English language the English language at like 9 or 10, but in the Polish language it's 14 or 15, which is a dramatic difference. I think, second only to Japanese, I believe, if I recall that correctly.
Yeah.
But Arthur had lived at this point two-thirds of his life in Poland, and then moved to Ireland. And we were excited because he was going to be the translator for all of us. And as we went into each one of these European countries, we never had anyone who spoke the language, and this was going to be the first time. We just opened up Spain, Portugal, Italy. None of us spoke the language. It's going to be different. We have Arthur who speaks Polish, and we got there, and he'd forgotten how to speak Polish. He got it back over time, but
Yeah.
he was also speaking through a translator for like the first 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, I really wonder, how did you actually manage to do those door-to-door sales if you didn't speak the native here? And like Poland is pretty international, but I know back in 2013, it wasn't that popular yet that everyone speaks English like today.
We started in Katowice, which is not a very very international city, even inside of Poland. It's not like we started in Warsaw. You have to be creative. You got to find a way to get it done, whether that is finding somebody who speaks English by running around and just seeing as many people as possible and playing a work ethic game, or you can work smart by finding someone, and we would deputize people in the field by having them, if they spoke English, we'd have them come with us for like an hour and give them half the commission. And then very quickly we started recruiting people, and after 18 months in Poland, we had a team of 350 people. We were in 6 cities. It was an awesome experience. I loved it there. Yeah, at the time, my wife's sister was in dental school in Wrocław. I remember it, very, very, very fondly.
That's great. So you really expanded your business to so many countries globally, right? And I really wonder, what were the biggest actually challenges that you run into while doing that? Because we've started. I would say, yeah, we started quite internationally because we started in Germany and Poland. So maybe right away, but I know so many Polish business owners.
And you have customers. You have customers all over the world.
Yeah, right now, yeah. So for me, maybe I'm not the right example, but on the other hand, when I moved back to Poland, I've met so many Polish business owners, and every time they actually ask me those questions, hey, how did you do it internationally? How do you expand your business? And I was like, to be fair, I can't really tell because that's how I started, but they are struggling. They are struggling a lot. And I really wonder if you have some of the like, let's say, tips and tricks, learnings from running business from so many countries and expanding actually, because it's door to door. It's a little bit different, right? For me, as I go to Google, I put YouTube online, like a YouTube video online, and I get the potential customers through the call, and you had to do it actually really face to face. So
well, I think it makes it easier, right? Because you get direct feedback. Because the name of the game is you have to learn how to connect with people that you wouldn't otherwise have known how to connect with until you get that feedback, right? So if I'm selling on Amazon, and I put up my listing, I have to guess. I'm taking my best educated guess on what the listing what is the best listing that is going to, or the right components that are going to connect with the potential buyers, right? And so face to face, and a lot of it was door to door. Some of it, today we're in like every Walmart, many of the Walmarts and Best Buys in America. We have a lot of in-store events, shopping centers, etc. But regardless, it's all one-on-one communication, and you're getting direct feedback. And I think that creates a lot of challenges because you just realize that cultures are different and people are different. And I think that was the most enriching part about that whole journey for me. When I moved to England, like I said, I grew up in a small town. It was my first time getting a passport. I was 27. I'd never left America other than to Canada a couple times to because the drinking age was 18. So between 18 and 21, Americans who live in the North tend to go to Montreal and Sherbrooke and stuff a lot.
Oh yeah. I remember
moving. Yeah, it's a good time. But I remember moving to England, and out of the first 60 people in our office, they were from 46 different countries.
Wow.
42 of those countries I had never met a person from in my life. And you just meet such a wide range of people, and you have to learn how to communicate with people differently. I'll tell a small anecdote. I can remember we'd run these morning meetings to get people fired up before they go to the field. And one meeting that we would run in America was this speech by a guy named Vince Lombardi. He was a football coach for the Green Bay Packers, and he has this speech called "What It Takes to Be Number One," and it is like the most quintessential sports speech in North American sports of all time. So I can remember we're in England, and we run this meeting designed to get everyone excited on the way out to the field. And I'm riding in the train in London with a girl from Greece, a girl from Hungary, a girl from Sweden, and a guy from um, Belarus, I believe. And we're driving out, and I'm like, "What'd you guys think of that meeting this morning?" And they all looked at me and they're like, "No, like that's everything that we don't like about Americans, wrapped up into 3 paragraphs. Like everything that we think is the problem with the way all you care about is winning as a culture." And it was I was 3 weeks removed from living in America, and I can remember Jose Mourinho was the coach of Chelsea, and he got fired by Abramovich, despite I think they hadn't lost a match in like 20
Mm-hmm.
matches, and he got fired. And the reason that Abramovich cited was um, he didn't like the style of football that they were playing. And again, like
Oh
as
yeah,
a kid, as a guy who grew up the way I grew up, that was just a crazy concept. Like
yeah,
in America, if your team played the most boring 60 minutes of football, but they won 3-0 on a field goal, you'd be just as happy as if it was a high flying passing attack. And so, just a couple of anecdotes to underscore. Um, it's so amazing to see the different ways that people look at the world and look at the same problems and look at the same
definitely,
situation. And the more experiences that you have, if you dive in and you're excited about it and you're not married to your standpoint and you ask a lot more questions, um, which is the same way as running a business. You're providing a service for your customers, Jacob, and you have to adapt to the way that they want it. It's not
definitely. I
about
mean,
the way you want it. It's about the way that they want it, and your success will be determined by if you're solving the problems the way that they want them solved.
100%. You always need to listen what a customer wants. That's what I learned. But when it comes to differences in the culture, I think there's a book. Actually, my friend recommended this to me. I haven't read it yet. Called Culture Map, and it actually says about
Yeah,
all of the differences between how people run businesses in different countries. And I can actually tell that when we started, it was totally different for us to do business with Germans than, for example, with Poles or with US clients. It's like super different. I mean, just to give you the quickest example, sometimes to acquire for us a German client, we had to really warm up the connections. I don't know, in years, like 2 years. Start a very small pilot project, go to the dinner, go to the lunch, reconnect, and so on, to actually start a big project. With some of the US clients, we literally had the calls when the guy jumped on the call. He said what he wanted. We gave him the quote, and we started the project in a week. Right, so that's like a very short,
totally. And
actually
and and
huge
and
difference
and,
between those two countries.
and both approaches have positives and negatives, right? And I think both of those approaches you described one approach, which was a more German approach, which was like measure 15 times, cut once, and then you described an American approach, which was like just go for it. And
Oh yeah,
there's incredibly successful businesses. Those are two gigantic economies, two of the highest per capitas in the world. Some of the most important businesses have come out of those two countries, and they have very different approaches, which I think, like, as you get older, it humbles you to realize that my way of doing things, or what I think makes sense, is really just a composite of my nurture, in so many ways, of the way that I've grown up and the people that I've been around and the influences that I've had. And I think that's the most exciting and fun part about internationalizing your business.
oh yeah, that's for sure. And now I really wonder, because this is something that I'm thinking a lot. And I mean, you came through this stage. It's like, okay, once I will become a successful, I will go and retire. And I mean, it seems like you almost retired, right? Moving to Puerto Rico, and you had the plan to just rest. But eventually, what happened is you got hooked again. And I just really wonder if you could tell about this more, because it seems like you've done a lot. You work a lot, been in many countries, met a lot of people, created a really great business, and then you're getting on a in a Puerto Rico, your house, right? Trying to chill, and then suddenly what actually happened? Like, I really want to understand your thought process there.
Yeah. So do I sometimes, but I think that I think there's a few things. Number one is like retire is probably not the right word. But my sales and marketing company is some of my best friends, some of my partners. I'm still involved, but in terms of not being at like a 70, 80 hour week, my plan was to do investing instead. And what happened was every investment I looked at, I just wanted to build a competitor. I just thought, I think I could operate this business, or I have an idea for this business. Whether that's true or not, it's just the way I was built, right? Second part is where I moved down here in Puerto Rico. I mean, it's a pretty amazing neighborhood, where just tons of people that are way more successful than I was live. Just about every musician you could think of, Bad Bunny, Ozuna, Ricky Martin, they all live, within a 5-minute golf cart ride or closer to my house. Really successful people like Peter Schiff, the Paul brothers moved in recently. I mean, there's just a lot of people that are just crushing it. And those are just people that you would know. And then there's people that own the largest manufacturer of airplanes. The person who does relocation for secretary for the Department of Defense. So I met a lot of people that were just, had thought even bigger than I did. And I think that that's what it comes down to. I don't think that the goal is to find some finish line after which you just relax and kick it up and drink margaritas all day. I mean, that'd be bad for your liver anyway. But I think it's to stay constantly challenged and constantly engaged, and to continue to expand that muscle in your brain on what's possible for your life. And I think that we're just built to do. And then lastly, there's probably it probably comes from some deep recess of like, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, but I wasn't big enough, and I wanted to be other things, and maybe I wasn't smart enough, or wanted to, wasn't good looking enough, or whatever. And I think that there's a lot that shapes people, but to live a life where you acquire a bunch of skills through your experiences and through your grit and through really your intentionality at becoming better as a person, and then to be able to help others through leadership, through mentorship. It's what I found to be the greatest professional feeling of my life. And so when I found this industry, it reminded me a lot of the last industry I was in, where the goal was to just live a better life. The Amazon seller wants to live a better life than the average. They want to do it on their terms. They want to do it in their time. They want to see the world. They want to do incredible things. And that's the language that I'd been speaking for 18, 19 years, and was excited to be able to take that here. And so as much as I thought maybe I wanted to relax, all it took was seeing an opportunity to make a difference, seeing an opportunity to compete in another arena, and to translate and measure up and see if the skills would transfer over.
Got it. Do you actually still coach business owners despite like working at the Carbon6 right now?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, many of these people, they moved all over the world with me, and they're some of my closest friends in the world, and I'm still very active and intimately involved in their coaching. I have a lot of incredible leaders that take on the day to day. The team's gotten really, really large, but yeah.
That's awesome. And did you actually have a coach as well, where like before, when you were having some doubts, looking for help?
Well, I think I look at it and say you always need 3 coaches, I think. So you need a long-term coach, and this is a person who's going to help you with vision, and they're going to help you really, really chart the whole course. And so for some people, that can be a podcast you listen to. It can be a family member. It can be, books that you read, as well as individuals. And I was lucky to have individuals that were in that same direct sales business that I was in, that had achieved what I was trying to achieve, that were able to help me the entire time, where I was able to draw from a direct experience, which is fantastic. And I think you need a long-term vision, and a long-term coach for that certainly helps. Then I think you need, a medium coach. This is somebody who is, ahead of where you want to go, and has just recently experienced whatever it is that you're going through, that can help you with, I don't know, the next 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. It can be a seller that just got to the point that you want to get to. It's going to be someone who just successfully migrated their D2C brand to Amazon and went from 5% to 10% to 20% or 30% of the revenue. And then I think you need day-to-day coaches at your short-term coaches, which is whatever I need to get better at today, who can help me? And so I underneath that last group, I've had thousands, maybe more, maybe hundreds of thousands. What is it that I'm trying to get better at?
Yeah.
And where can I pull from that? You mentioned when we were talking the other day about your team's expertise with the ASP API. And so I went on and I Googled, Amazon ASP API, or went on YouTube, I should say. And we watched a bunch of videos this weekend. I'd like to think our R&D team is very advanced, but there were instances and tidbits inside of that, morsels inside of your videos that were extremely helpful. So for this past
That's
weekend,
awesome.
you were a short-term coach to many of us at Carbon6.
Oh, that's great. Really great to hear that they are helpful. Yeah.
Oh, super helpful. When we were talking to customers in Poland, each one of them were giving us feedback, and they were our
Yeah.
short-term coaches informing the next conversation we were going to have.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I see what was your point here. And actually speaking of Amazon community, I think it's one of the best communities I've had when it comes to being in different industries and building software solutions. I mean, we tried many of them before, and this is the one that we really stick into it. And what I love the most is actually like the community part. So I've been at this point, I don't know, probably on it's only, but still, it's enough. So I think at 4 different conferences. So one of them was Prosper Show. Then I've been in some in Germany. Recently, I've been to Lithuania. I've been in Tel Aviv. And what I can see the
Great.
most is this really part of being the community. So if you are stuck, you can literally talk to other seller because they face all of those problems, and they can always teach each other, right? And I really enjoy
Agreed.
that, especially those crazy sellers, like 8-figure, 9-figure sellers who are going on a stage. I mean, in the end, they're also human. So you can wait till the speaker goes out of the stage. You can easily talk to him or her, right? Which is crazy if you think about it.
It's fascinating because I've said this before. It was far from guaranteed that it was going to develop that way. It's such a unique. I haven't seen every industry, but based on the industries I've seen, to piggyback off your point, it's such a unique thing here where everyone's helping each other, the masterminds, the groups. It's really incredible. And yeah, I mean, it's been super helpful for us as a company getting up to speed. It's been and continues to be having a measurable impact on our learning curve and our growth curve at understanding what we need to create in terms of the next gen solutions for sellers.
And you're also great with bringing sellers together. I mean, I remember, I don't know if it was the first day, but I remember you had this party at the Prosper Show, and I actually went there as well. So you're also great with that. Was it like a pool
Look, I think,
party?
yeah, I mean, look, we sponsor a lot. I think it's a great way to connect with people. I'm going to the MDS event in Barcelona next week, and can't wait. And it's I feel I'm a part of all these communities as I've gotten to know
Oh,
people,
yeah.
and that's one of my favorite parts about it. All those things give me energy, and they give us information that helps us be a better company and be a better service to sellers. The way we started the company was we weren't Amazon sellers, and so we knew that what we lacked was that. That's a big thing to lack when you're trying to serve Amazon sellers. And so when we went out and made the first group of acquisitions, not only were we acquiring solutions, but we were acquiring expertise.
Awesome.
And we have a product advisory committee comprised of dozens and dozens of some of the best names, best and well-known names in Amazon, with billions in sales in aggregate, informing our product roadmap. We just launched 8 weeks ago Pixelme, the new functionality. Today, Pixelme is the only ad tech platform where you can run Google, Meta, and TikTok ads directly to your Amazon listing with deep linking
wow.
attribution, optimizing for conversions, not just clicks. Well, we had hundreds of sellers and large brands inform the roadmap so that we knew that what we were building had the highest probability of being exactly what the market needed. And what we've seen over the 8 weeks is, it's a rocket ship. I mean, we're doing hundreds of demos every week, and
Oh, yeah.
80-90% of people that are seeing a demo are signing up.
So actually, if you could tell a little bit more about the solutions itself, could you split them somehow by the categories, or like the problems that you are solving right now that sellers are struggling with?
Yeah. So with Pixelme, everybody knows or should know that external traffic is really important both for product launches as well as just spiking and keeping organic rank. Amazon gives you a brand referral bonus, which is 10% back. Since they launched attribution, which right now is in the U.S., some North America, and a few places in the EU. And so taking the almost 3 billion product searches or searches on Google every single day and transforming them into organic rank lift and another profitable revenue stream for your Amazon listing is important. What we built there is the ultimate solution to do that. So you run the ads from the Pixelme console directly to your Amazon listing, linked with attribution and deep linking. And what we're seeing there is, in many cases, we're actually getting infinite ROAS, what we call infinite ROAS. So this is especially for products that are, this solution will work for most products. And if you want to get if you want us to do an audit, maybe we can put that link in the show notes below.
Definitely.
But for higher end products, $70, $80, $90, $100, what we're seeing time and time again is that the cost of acquiring a customer through the Google ad is less than the 10% brand referral bonus. Meaning that sellers today are making more money off of a sale driven from Google than they would off an organic sale on Amazon, which is pretty incredible. So that's Pixelme.
Oh, wow, that's
amazing.
amazing.
Imagine you're selling a drill that's $200, and it costs you $11 to acquire a customer, and then you get $20, off what would normally be your Amazon fee. You'd be making $9 more in that scenario off of that Google-driven sale that's also going to give you organic rank juice than you would off an organic sale on Amazon.
That's crazy. I think I've spoke with this with one guy actually on the podcast that he's running the Amazon agency, and they are doing actually advertisement on Google that brings because it's cheaper, for example, than selling on Amazon,
100%.
like getting ads on Amazon. So
that's
very
introduce
nice.
Me to that person. We should partner up. So that's one solution. That's one solution. Another solution is called data driven. This is one of the newer members of the Carbon6 family. A lot of sellers told us that what they would really like is an executive summary with action items they could assign to people on their team, recommendations and action items. And so that's what data driven is. It started out as a full service for some of the largest brands on Amazon. Brands like Hefty Reynolds, Drops have been using this for years. It was built by Amazon by Amazon vendor managers, I should say, who codified everything that they've learned into a software. And what we offer there is for just $100 a week, you get an executive summary that tells you everything that happened in your business, with recommendations and action items that you can actually assign to people on your team. That's data driven. Stocked is for inventory management. So for inventory management, a lot of people use spreadsheets. They're incredibly inefficient. They're time consuming and they're difficult. Stocked? It was born out of all the supply chain issues during COVID. So it was great. It was great timing. And what they've done now is really automate the process of forecasting and inventory management in the way that all sellers need. That's now available all the way at the top of the market, where we integrate directly with NetSuite, and many of the largest brands and many of the most successful sellers in the world are using Stock. We have profit recovery. So this is refunds or reimbursements. People would know it as for 1P and 3P with ChargeGuard and Seller Investigators. We're the only people on the planet right now that offer that full solution. So regardless of if you're a 3P seller, a 1P seller, Seller Central or Vendor Central, or a hybrid, we're able to get back more money faster and with more transparency.
Yeah, I think especially for 1P sellers, right? There's not so many tools for that, so that's actually a really nice tool.
Yeah, it's great. And so, I think, again, we want to simplify success for sellers. And so one point of contact, one login for everything that I just mentioned, right? We then have we have an analytics software managed by Stats, used by many of the most successful sellers in the world. We have the number one alert system in the world called AMZ Alert. What's great about this is that you can actually spy on your competitors. So because it's done largely through scraping and not just through the API, it's done through a combination, you can not just monitor your own ASINs, but you can monitor your competitor ASINs, and then you can get alerts going to your wearable to your Slack to wherever you want, and build different hierarchies depending on who wants to see what. We have PPC Entourage, which will be releasing a ton of new features and bringing that really out to market over the next 30 to 45 days, which is a PPC solution.
And is this a tool also for Amazon agencies, or is it only for sellers?
Everything that we build is built with the agency in mind. So these are all great for multi-brand. These are all great for multi-account. Everything is geared towards saying, we want to build for the MDS seller, right? Which we consider to be the most sophisticated solopreneur started businesses. And we want to build for them, and we want to make sure that it's adaptable and it's very convenient for agencies, accelerators, and aggregators. And if we do that, then we know we'll have built what the top of the market, what the enterprise, what the CPG brands need as well.
Mm-hmm. That's really nice. And what's right now on your list? What's next? I really wonder when it comes to right now, I don't acquiring some solution or building the new one. What's on your target right now?
All of it. I'm going to be a little bit cagey on our roadmap. We have a couple incredible things we'll be announcing over the next 30 or 45 days. We'll be working deeper on the integration, where the apps will be able to communicate with each other, and the whole will really become a lot greater than the sum of its parts. We will make a larger move, in the directions that we've been going, which is for the 3P seller, as well as continuing down the road for 1P sellers. We also just acquired and launched our first Walmart solution called Wally Smarter that really acts as an all-in-one solution.
So you're also expanding to Walmart.
Yeah, absolutely. We start with Walmart. Later is it Taobao, is it Mercado Libre? We're really looking at a hub and spoke strategy. Jacob, part of the goal for this is that not only can you come to one place and just have one login serving all the different needs of the professional seller and large brand, but we can also identify opportunities and help you expand into other markets, into other markets and other marketplaces.
That's awesome. I really think that in the future, everything will be at some point marketplace, right? There will be so many different marketplaces for so many things. And right now, if you're on Amazon, I think you're really losing it. I mean, you should always think about the expansion, especially here in Europe. There are so many opportunities. I mean, Amazon is huge, but it's not huge in every country. So in every country, you actually have some big marketplace. For example, I mean, as you probably know, in Poland, there's Allegro, and Amazon is trying to put so much money for expansion here, but it's failing. It can't win with Allegro. Then in Germany, Amazon actually is the biggest one, but on the other hand, you have Kaufland, which was kind of like a Walmart. They started with the huge stores, and they at some point launched the marketplace, and now they are expanding on other countries. And my friend, who is a huge Amazon seller, he just tried it out, and right now he's generating I think 6 figures every month just by launching few products on Kaufland without really having any experience, right? So it's always good to think also when it comes to building a tech company as yours about software that can allow scaling on other marketplaces, because it's a matter of time that really people go all in on all of the other marketplaces. So I know that Walmart, especially right now in the US, is very hot. When I have some guests on the podcast running the Walmart agencies, they say that Walmart right now it's something like Amazon in 2017, 18, but it's moving much faster, right? So there's no time to waste.
I mean, hopefully, I mean, you would say Amazon has had an all-time great execution from 15, 16, 17 to now, and so it's certainly not guaranteed at all. In fact, the probability is very much against Walmart executing that well. But even if they reach 25% or 20%, it'll be a huge channel for people as compared to what it is today.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So Justin, actually, thanks a lot for sharing all of your expertises in entrepreneurship and features of Carbon6 technologies, all of the solutions that you guys have. I would love to ask you last one question, like how people can actually try Carbon6, because I would love to also share it with the audience. So I'll put the link in the description.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you can go to carbon6.io. And what we'll do, Jacob, is we will work with you, and we'll get some offer codes based on all the software for all the softwares I just mentioned. That'll be unique and special to your audience. We'll get those out.
Awesome.
So if you're watching the podcast now, the links will already be below.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Justin. It was great to have you here on the podcast. I hope this is not our last podcast, that we'll reconnect in the future. And yeah, thanks a lot.
And Jacob, congratulations on everything that you're doing. You know, super happy for you. Been very, very impressed by your content and the feedback we've gotten about your team, testimonials. So keep up the great work, and can't wait for our paths to cross again.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks.